You are still tuned in to NBC with Namibia Connect, and now we shift our attention to the Omaheke region, specifically to the Epukiro Constituency, where in that region they are marking 100 years of existence, yet they are facing challenges, one of them being that they have been for the past century been consuming water that is deemed unfit for human consumption. The councillor of Epukiro Constituency, Packy Pakarae, is joining us in studio this morning to talk to us about this and more. Very good morning, Mr. Packy. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
A very good morning, and a pleasure having me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I think congratulations for reaching such a milestone, 100 years in existence. Quite a big milestone. Just give us a brief summary of your constituency, perhaps, as one of the oldest, constituencies to actually ever exist in the country.
No, very true. And as we know, as per our historical road journey we had as a country, under the colonial rule or colonial regime, people were put in concentration camps. Mm-hmm. And eventually they were released from the concentration camps, and then they were ordered to move to areas by then, which was in a wild, uninhabited area. And this is where the area previously seen as the vegetation, the topography, hydrography, not good in terms of commercial activities for farming purposes, and they were shifted that side. Now, I know the historian will come in and share a lot around that, but the key thing is that in 1924 is when Epukiro, by then as a reserve, was inhabited. Yeah. This year we are in 2024, therefore we are marking a historical milestone in terms of commemorating the 100 years of existence.
Very well. Talk to us about, what I just mentioned in my introduction now. For a century, that residents are living in the constituency and are consuming water that is deemed unfit for human consumption. How is it that after a century, this is yet a challenge that the constituency faces?
Yes, unfortunately, that's what the community of Epukiro and majority, actually in the settlement post-Dri, and some of the surrounding villages like Oshodonjima or Kodonje has been enduring for the past, for the century, if you want my side. Meaning they have been consuming water, which is classified as Class D. Now, as per the World Health Organization, Class D water is not fit for human consumption. But because they did not have alternative, they did not have choices, that's the water they have been using. Yeah. So you could imagine that perhaps medically this water could have also exacerbated or influenced or worsened some medical condition of patients in one or another way. However, when we took over the office, and also taking over from my predecessor, the honorable councillors that were there before me, this is something that has been on the card in terms of what we have to do to change the quantity, both the quantity and the quality of water. Now, number one, when the settlement was, or the design, the supply of water was done, it was purely done. There was a school. The school only had over 300 learners. The households or the residents within the settlement was also few. As we speak now, the school has over 1,100 learners. Right. It has over 45 teachers, over close to 30 institutional workers. The estimates as per the 2023 census, the statistics, is that we're talking about 2,900 plus resident within the settlement. So meaning the demand has already exceeded the supply in terms of the existing water. Yeah. Now we have two things. We have two challenges to address. Okay. One is the quantity, and the other one is the quality. So what we have done, we've done submissions, we've done presentations to NamWater, because NamWater, as per the mandate, is the one that's mandated to supply bulk water supply to settlement, to village council, to local authority, etc.
Which is, of course, clean and deemed fit for human consumption. Yeah.
They recall and acknowledge that it has been an error and omission for such a long time that this was not attended to. But eventually, and one have to extend a word of thanks to the CEO, Abraham Nehemia of NamWater, that they now have availed over 7 million for the drilling of 22 boreholes. But among the 22 boreholes, they are looking at least 11 production boreholes. They have done geological survey that depicted the geological setup, the rock formations, and they identify the area with high salinity. Yeah. And their targets, they have identified targets where we think they have moved away from those areas, and we could probably get water which is of either class A or B, because within the settlement there are some boreholes with good quality water. One would say class B, but there are only 2, meaning and the quantity is not sufficient to supply the whole settlement. As my trip here was to come and observe the signing ceremony between NamWater and a contracted company that will go and do the drilling. So it's and my desire is to make sure that in the year where we are celebrating the 100 years, to make sure that we also transform. I will go to bed peacefully if a kid can go to a tap, getting water that is not class D, and elderly patients having received tablets, medications from a clinic, drinking using water that is not of class D. And I think we are close at achieving that, because once we have done the signing, we'll be having a groundbreaking ceremony, and the process should only take not more than a month for the drilling. And then the installation should follow suit to make sure that, in terms of the extraction, and make sure that the settlement is supplied with safe drinking water. But we're also looking at adjacent villages that has been experiencing shortage of water for quite numbers of years. If we manage to do that, we would like to extend the rural pipeline scheme to those nearby villages so that they can also have access to clean drinking water.
Very well. Are there any complaints perhaps from the residents who are living in Epukiro regarding, some health hazards or health concerns that have come from, the unfit water that they have been drinking now, which is of course class D that you mentioned? Yeah,
there has been complaints. But however, there are no scientific evidences in terms of what has led it to, in terms of the output, the outcome of using those water. Of course, perhaps one that's medical experts could help us to do that, to deduce and explain properly that what effects eventually it has on the living conditions and the medical conditions of the people. But there has been a complaint, and this complaint has been taken seriously by the constituency office and the regional council, Omaheke Regional Council, and that's why we have gone this far. And it's so meaning we will be solving the issue of water supply to the settlement, but also venturing looking at water supply in the whole constituency.
Very well. Let's talk about what the country has been experiencing for what we're currently experiencing right now. The country is of course experiencing severe drought, which of course has been regarded as an emergency, as a state of emergency by the president. How does the constituency of Epukiro actually deal with these drought conditions and food distribution, especially for those that are in need of it?
Yeah, thank you very much. And maybe before I do that, let me paint a picture in terms of the conditions of the country, Omaheke. Right now, as it seems to be neutral condition from our Pacific Ocean, meaning we are not sure yet, but experts are telling us that there is 60% chance of La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino. Right. El Nino predicts drought conditions for Southern Africa.
Right.
El Nino predicts good rains for Southern Africa. Now, the experts are telling us there's 60% between September and now of El Niño. So we hope we might get better rain. And that has led to, meaning that we have drought, a prevailing drought. Looking at the constituency, the rangeland has, the perennial grasses has diminished drastically. We won't find it. The livestock conditions from poor to very poor, and actually the lactating cows are very, very poor in terms of conditions. In terms of human lives, the conditions, food distributions, of course there has been, because of a drought, definitely we have had situations where people could not make it a day or 2 days without any assistance from government. Right. However, we have, in the region, we have over 27,000 households registered under the drought relief program, Office of the Prime Minister and Regional Council. If you look around there, you are talking about 56,368 beneficiaries that are benefiting from this drought relief food. Looking at my constituency, I have 1,948 households registered. Then again, it gives you the 8,000 plus in terms of beneficiary. It has been a challenge at the beginning to distribute this food timelessly, because one of transport challenges, and two, because of personnel as well, and also the storage warehousing. But we have managed to, now as we speak now, Omaheke Regional Council has acquired 10 private trucks that will complement the Namibian Defence Force trucks that we are given, to make sure that each constituency receive foods on time, distribute, and make sure that the needy people get their foods on time.
Very well. Right, Mr. Pakarae, how I wish we had more time to, of course, speak on so much that the Omaheke region has been experiencing in the past century. But congratulations once again on reaching this milestone. Of course, we wish you and the residents of the Omaheke region rather a very good commemoration of the 100 years. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And Omaheke and Epukiro is in good hands. We are marching on, and we are very on a good trajectory in making sure that the region preserve, overcome the challenges we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, we ask the corporations and the patience of our communities, as they always do, but also giving us inputs and guidance in whatever we are faced with. So thank you.